The storm rolled over the small lakeside town like a warning, dark clouds swallowing the morning sun as thunder cracked across the sky. Rowan Hale, a single dad who had learned to survive on instinct and grit, stood on his porch watching the wind whip the trees. His 10-year-old daughter Lyra tugged at his sleeve as the rain started to pour, but it wasn't the storm that made Rowan's chest tighten. It was the woman he saw stumbling up the empty road, drenched, shivering, and clearly lost. He didn't know her name, her story, or the truth that she carried with her a life so far from his own that it would one day collide with his in the most unexpected way. He only knew one thing: she needed help. And Rowan Hale never turned his back on someone in need, even when he himself was barely holding things together. Before we continue, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Your support truly keeps these stories alive. The woman looked completely out of place against the backdrop of Rowan's modest wooden cabin. Her clothes were elegant, high-end, now completely soaked. Her shoes were expensive heels sinking in the mud. Rowan rushed forward with an umbrella that did little against the aggressive wind. She lifted her face as he reached her, and for a brief second, Rowan saw something tired behind her bright hazel eyes, something fragile. Without hesitation, he guided her inside, offering a towel and warmth, while Lyra watched with quiet curiosity from the living room sofa. Rowan had always taught Lyra to help people, even when life didn't help them back. The woman introduced herself as Adrielle Marston, but she didn't mention that she was the CEO of Marston Innovations, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country, nor did she say that she had walked out of a suffocating board meeting just hours before the storm hit, overwhelmed by responsibilities and loneliness she had hidden for years. She simply said she had been driving to clear her mind, took a wrong turn, and ended up stranded when her car broke down a few miles away. Rowan didn't care about details. He cared that she was trembling. Rowan's cabin was simple: sunlight through old windows, soft daytime glow over the wooden floors, worn cushions, hand-repaired furniture, and a kitchen filled with the scent of chamomile tea. It wasn't luxury, but it was safe, warm, and honest. And somehow that quiet simplicity began calming Adrielle in ways no penthouse or corporate office ever had. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she had to stand tall or appear unbreakable. She noticed Rowan's hands as he handed her a cup of warm tea, calloused, steady, and telling a story of a man who had worked for everything he had. It had been 12 years since Rowan's wife passed away after complications during childbirth. Every choice, every sacrifice, every sleepless night had been for Lyra. He had built a life for her with his bare hands, often living paycheck to paycheck, but always ensuring she never felt the weight he carried. Adrielle recognized that kind of strength. It humbled her. As the storm continued outside, Rowan brought out blankets while Lyra shyly offered Adrielle a cookie she had baked earlier. Adrielle smiled warmly, thanking her, and something shifted in the room, a soft, delicate warmth that could only come from a child's acceptance. Rowan watched the interaction, noticing how naturally Adrielle softened around Lyra, as if she were finding a part of herself she had long forgotten existed. Throughout the day, Rowan tried calling a mechanic for her car, but the storm had knocked out most service. Adrielle insisted she didn't want to disturb them longer, but Rowan refused to let her leave in such severe weather. He assured her she was welcome to stay until the storm cleared. There was something about him, humble, grounded, that made her feel safe, for someone used to living through glass office walls and polished boardrooms. His world felt impossibly genuine. As hours passed, Adrielle slowly opened up. She spoke of stress, expectations, and the constant fear of failure that never left her alone. Rowan, while listening carefully, admitted how single fatherhood had shaped him, how raising Lyra had given him purpose, but also constant worry about providing enough, being enough. They both came from different worlds, yet their struggles somehow mirrored each other. Two lonely hearts fighting battles in silence. Daytime turned gentle as the storm softened into rain. The three of them made lunch together, laughing for the first time that day. Rowan had never seen Lyra warm up to a stranger so quickly, and he found himself smiling more than he usually did. There was something healing about Adriel's presence, something that made the house feel lighter, fuller. Later, while Lyra napped, Rowan walked Adriel outside. The rain had slowed, leaving shimmering droplets on the leaves. The air was fresh, dewy, peaceful. Adriel breathed deeply, feeling more grounded than she had in months. She watched Rowan gently repair part of the porch railing the wind had damaged, working with natural ease. His world was simple, but it was real. Something inside her longed for that realness. Rowan showed her the small garden he and Lyra tended together. Tomatoes, mint, rosemary, a few struggling sunflowers. Adriel knelt beside it, touched by the care behind it. She confessed she had a rooftop garden but rarely had time to visit it. Rowan could hear the loneliness in her voice even when she didn't say it directly. He wondered how someone with so much could feel so empty. When evening approached and the roads finally cleared, Rowan offered to drive her to her car. But she hesitated. It wasn't that she feared going back. It was that she didn't want to. She didn't want the quiet warmth of this place to end. Rowan sensed it too. He didn't want her to go, though he had no reason to ask her to stay. When they reached her car, the mechanic had already taken it to his shop. Rowan offered to drop her at a motel since her phone wasn't working yet from the rain damage. Adriel surprised herself by asking if she could stay at his cabin one more night. Rowan blinked, shocked, but her expression was sincere, hopeful, almost vulnerable. He nodded slowly, and they returned together. Night brought stories, soft laughter, and comfortable silence. Adriel helped Lyra with a small art project, and Rowan watched them, his heart stirring with emotions he hadn't felt in years. Adriel looked less like a polished, distant executive, and more like a woman rediscovering life. The next morning, everything changed. A black SUV and 2 security cars pulled up outside the cabin as the sun rose. Adriel apologized to Rowan, embarrassed, explaining that her assistant must have tracked her after her phone stopped responding. Rowan stood there stunned, as the assistant addressed her as Ms. Marston, listing urgent messages from the board and investors. Lyra's eyes widened. Rowan froze. Adriel's heart dropped. The truth spilled into the daylight. She wasn't just a random traveler. She was a CEO, a powerful one, someone who lived in a world far from Rowan's simple reality. Rowan tried to hide the disappointment in his eyes, but Adriel saw it clearly. She quickly stepped toward him, assuring him the person she had been in his home, the person who laughed, cooked, gardened, and breathed freely, was the real Adriel, not the title, not the pressure. Rowan nodded politely, but inside he felt foolish for thinking someone like her could fit into his life, even for a moment. She left with her entourage, but not before promising Lyra she would visit again. She turned to Rowan one last time, eyes soft and full of something she didn't dare name yet. Rowan gave her a gentle smile, but once the cars disappeared, he felt the emptiness settle inside his chest. Days passed, then weeks. Rowan returned to his routines, but he felt her absence in the quiet moments, when the wind blew softly, when the rain tapped the windows, when Lyra asked if Adriel would come back. And then one morning, she did. A luxury car pulled into the driveway. Adriel stepped out, not in heels, not in designer clothes, but in jeans, a simple blouse, and a nervous smile. Rowan nearly dropped the firewood he was carrying. She told him she hadn't forgotten a single moment they shared, that for the first time in years, someone made her feel human again. She said she wasn't there as a CEO. She was there as a woman who had found something worth protecting, something warm, something real. Rowan didn't speak immediately. His heart was beating too fast. Adriel stepped closer, telling him she wanted to know him, help him, support him, and become part of the life that had given her peace. Rowan saw the sincerity in her eyes, the same vulnerability he saw in the storm. And for the first time in a long time, he allowed hope in. They spent more time together. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Adriel balanced her work differently, visiting the cabin often, helping Lyra with school projects, learning how to tend the garden, cooking simple meals, finding joy in things she had forgotten.